So now, of course, now we got to fall into that part of our show where we bring the promo that's not wrestling related because we know we're surrounded by promos each and every day, whether it's at the Starbucks or we hear the Karen at the McDonald's or you see something crazy down the street, right? Or I can tell you one day we're going to cut our own promos because I've cut plenty of promos on my kids. So I promise you, it may not be wrestling related, but there have been some good promos. And I took my kid promos are from Jake the Snake. Keep it
Nice.
real calm and simple, and walk away with
Mhm.
them going, "Oh, he may kill me." So I know Adrian, you're the one bringing the promo this week of the non wrestling related one. So what do you
Definitely.
got?
Okay, so a little background on this one. Um, Growing up as a kid, my grandfather used to pick me and my little brother and little sister up from school every day, and it was tradition. Part of the tradition, he would pick us up, he would take us to his house. He would have already made spaghetti, and he would tell us to do our homework while he's finishing things up. And while he was finishing things on the TV was a landmark of 90s television, and that was the Jerry Springer show.
Oh
So,
man.
which I will tell everyone is full of promos. It may
Mm.
be some white trash promos. It may be some like some uh bad stereotypes on all accounts, but it's promos nonetheless. So
Mm.
Yeah.
the promo that I brought for you guys, and this guy can come off as a pro wrestler just based off of his name. His name is Minister Marcus, and basically Marcus has multiple women he's dating at the same time, and his reason for that, once again, he's a minister. His reason for that is pretty interesting.
Please meet Marcus. He says the only way he can get what he wants is to pay for it. Well, our show is free. So, what's going on?
Well, Jerry, I had a rough life. I've been through some things in my life,
Yeah.
been locked down, I once played.
What is
Those are always petty.
locked down different from being locked up?
You're all in a cage. You're still in the cage.
Yeah,
You're still
yeah.
in the cage.
Okay.
But, Jerry, I played crazy one time just to get to a psych ward so I can get some good AC because in Texas, it's so hot, man. You'll die in those cells.
So you're telling me the people in Texas really aren't crazy? They're just pretending to be so they get air conditioning?
Yeah, when you're in prison.
Yeah.
But, Jerry, I got out. I wanted, something different,
Yeah.
I tried to change my life, and I got into church and stuff when I got out.
Okay.
And became a minister.
You're
And,
a minister?
Yes, sir.
Is your church air conditioned? Well, but is it like you on the computer? You go to a website and you become a minister?
No, sir. You got to be called.
Oh, you were called.
Yeah. Well,
Were you home? Did God text you?
not really. But Jerry, I met this female at church,
Yes.
And I thought a church girl would probably be different than any other girl in the streets,
Yeah.
So I took a different approach.
So wait, you're the minister in this church?
Yeah, I was.
Keyword.
Was.
Okay, so people would come to church on Sunday mornings. You'd be up there, and while you're praying and leading the prayers and giving your sermons, you look
Well,
out
I
there and
just
you
had-
see a lady that you go,
No, it wasn't nothing like that. It's just that some days I do preach, some Sundays,
I see.
But other
Yeah.
times I'm just like sitting up front.
I see. Okay, so you.
But-
Yeah.
Well, I did meet her in church, and I thought she was going to be different, because she was a church-going girl. And, I had
What
sex
happened?
with I had sex with this girl, man, and
Oh.
she done went ballistic.
Yeah.
Why? She said the ropes were too tight, or what? What do you mean you had?
Twice, Jerry, and she already talking about getting married.
Oh, I see.
I'm
So
not
she
trying
wasn't,
to.
She wasn't complaining. She was.
No, she wasn't complaining, but she was pressuring me to marry her. I mean, I know
You're a
God wants.
minister.
I know
You
God
slept
wants to
with
get
someone
married.
outside of marriage.
I'm not ready to get married yet.
You're not ready to be a minister.
I know.
Fast forward, girl comes out, and basically, I was trying to get to Minister Marcus' reason. He said that God said it was cool if he does this, if he has multiple women. So I I want to know you all's immediate thoughts. Greg, let's go with you first, man.
um, I don't know what my immediate thoughts were. I'm just sitting there going, "This dude's just a BSer
Yeah,
from the
for sure,
get,"
for sure.
and I couldn't believe anything that was coming out of his mouth. But I was curious. He had me waiting for more. I'm not gonna lie. He had me waiting for to see. I'm being familiar with the show. I'm just curious what she was gonna look like coming out. Right. I was just like, what we gonna get?
I'll shoot you the link. Links in the description, listeners.
And then he's just like, well, Jerry, I did it twice, and then this, and then now she won't get married. I'm like, bro, like I, I don't know what I picked her up at church. She's supposed to be a good church girl, and all of a sudden I turned her out, and now she wants to be married. Imagine that. So I, I don't even know what to think. I just think he's just I don't know, just a BSer.
It's yeah.
I'll leave, man. Talk
You're
to
too
me.
kind, Greg. You're too kind.
Right. Yeah, he did a good job, Greg.
uh, within the context of the show, because look,
Mhm.
I'm of a certain generation that I enjoyed Springer for what it was,
For
because
sure.
it's almost like it is pro wrestling. I mean,
Oh,
it truly is in its purest form. You're watching this show that you're everything's everything. I'm not a wrestler, but everything's a work in this show. Come on, like,
Mhm.
by design. And it's funny because even going in that and being part of an audience who is in on the joke, right? They're in on the structure of the joke. When he says I'm a minister, they just can't believe it. They're like, no,
Right.
no, you're not. Like, wait a minute. For you had us going for like a half second that maybe you were. So, and he's playing within the structure of the show, where he's Jerry's having a good time. Jerry doesn't cross the threshold onto the stage very often. He sticks with the crowd, but he does that. He's compelled to wait a minute. They probably gave us some loose guidelines, and he's like, no, I'm gonna engage with Jerry. I'm gonna give him something to work with here. So purely from the construct of the show, I think it's funny that it seemed like he was a fan. That's all I'm seeing.
Mhm. Now, what drew me to this as a promo per se is a few things. Number one, his personality. The guy's
Yeah.
personality, even though he's very unpolished in the sense of being on television or anything like that, he had a story to tell. He's
mhm.
giving you his background. You know, I was locked up, unfortunately, and I had to act crazy so I could get some AC. Like that. That's funny. That was
What?
funny. That was a
That was
funny
funny.
line. And also another point to bring out is that Jerry did a great job of being that B Mike, like
Mhm.
carrying him through,
Mhm.
reminding you kind of a
Mhm.
Mean Gene, if we're gonna make
Mhm.
a comparison,
Mhm.
where Mean Gene would have his little joke here and there, but
Mhm.
let you cook. And that's the way I felt. That's how that promo came about. But it's a hot mess. Jerry Springer was a hot mess. Trash 90s television.
To the utmost.
I don't
Yeah.
know why my grandfather had us watching it, but he was locked in with that, man. He was
what's
locked
so
in.
what's so funny is like now when I watch it, because I've seen Jerry Springer with so many other interviews at the time,
Hmm.
and he was a total sellout, and he'd tell you he was a total sellout.
Yeah.
If
Definitely.
you go early Jerry Springer shows, it was all serious and all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
and it became trash TV.
Hmm.
He's a highly intelligent dude, a
Yeah,
former
former
mayor of
former mayor of
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yep.
and he goes, "I would rather be doing politics, but this pays the bills." So I was sitting there watching him, and there's like a piece of if you really watch him, he's sitting there like asking these questions, but almost like I can't believe I'm doing this shit. Like
Yeah.
he's
No,
just
definitely,
like I can't
definitely.
believe it,
Yeah.
but that check has a lot of zeros on it, and I'm gonna
He's
keep doing
dying
this crap.
inside, but
Yes, sir.
Definitely, definitely. But that was the non-wrestling promo that I had for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, and I believe you mentioned it is wrestling. Like that was all a work.
Definitely.
If you go back, and I think you can Google this, pro wrestlers that were on Springer, you'll see a bunch of independent dudes
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's
who were
cool.
on there who were playing characters.
Wow, really?
I think Jimmy Yang was on there at one point. I think Jimmy Rave was on there at one point. I'm almost
Was
positive.
Rave
Wow.
on there? Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I'm almost positive Jimmy Yang was on there. I know there's a couple of guys from Georgia that were on there.
Now I'm gonna go
So
down that rabbit hole. Wow,
Hell yeah.
it's like,
that's cool.
and they're playing some crazy stuff, man. It's just like, what the world? You think you could get away with that today?
No.
They
Maybe
almost
maybe
did.
in a different format. Online. It would have to be
Mm.
online. Wouldn't network television wouldn't touch that. I don't think.
No, I mean,
Well,
like, even down to the fact of how fake it was.
Online.
Yeah,
Social media. Social media is fake as
yeah,
hell. These influencers. So
true,
yeah,
true,
it would
yeah,
go right in line online
true,
for sure.
true.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what we could do? We could put one together and put Keith Lee and these other guys, these food critics, and have them confront the owners of the restaurants, and we'd have our conflict right there.
Facts. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, and of course, look us up on socials at Suplex Dinner Club. And be sure to check out our other projects. We talk college football on Dogs versus All Y'all. That's a weekly college football podcast where we don't just talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, we talk about all things college football. The Life and Times Pod, which is short for the Life and Times of a Restaurant Lifer podcast, where I have some chill conversations with some cool and interesting people that I've met in my years in the hospitality industry. And of course, check out Talk 'em in the Building. That's a pro wrestling podcast where we solely focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and we pontificate on the promo. It's a fun project, and if you're a pro wrestling fan, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. If you're into TV and movie reviews, check out Four Corners Cinema with Ari and Adrian, a podcast where two lifelong pro wrestling fans review film and other forms of media that just so happen to have some of our favorite pro wrestlers. The Suplex Dinner Club family is growing, and I would love for you to be a part of it.